in our spa, it can be totally empty, which would be 0. And the most it can have is 250 gallons. So if it's anything else, the water's spilling over and falling out anyway, so we can't gain that way. So I'm not going to fill in all of these for the sake of time, but I know all my numbers have to be between 0 and 250. If I plug 0 in, 8 times 0 plus 700 is 700 pounds. If I put 50 pounds in here, or 50 gallons of water, that's 400, that makes it 1,100. I'm going to kind of go up by 50s here. You're going to see something. Say 100, 150, 200, and 250. If I put 100 in, that makes this 1,500. 150 pounds ends up being 1,900. 200 pounds is 2,300 pounds, or 2,300. And I should say 250 gallons will be 2,700. Now again, if you notice, we have a pattern here. Adding 50 gallons of water adds 400 pounds of weight to our spa or hot tub. So again, if you want a hot tub and put it on your deck, you want to make sure your deck can support at least 2,700 pounds. And that's without anybody else on it. So contractors or builders need to understand formulas like this. And again, if we're graphing this, I might go up by 50s here. And here I'm going up by maybe 500s. And we can start graphing our information. You got 100, 150, 1900, 300, and 2700. And again, we can connect that with a line, and it will make a linear function. Now, when we're looking at and thinking about these graphs, there's two things we need to consider. And this is the last thing we're going to talk about. Whether something is continuous or discrete. Okay, because something continuous is something that never ends. It goes on forever. There's no breaks. So when we describe this, this is a graph. I'm going to copy this down. That is unbroken. Okay? We can use fractions for our x values. We can use decimals for our x values, and we can still get numbers to be put in. A discrete function, and this is a little bit different. You might not have heard the word discrete before. What it means is this is a function that is composed of distinct isolated points. So we cannot connect them with a line. A lot of times discrete functions are just that involve whole numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some examples of something that's continuous is your height. You continuously grow. You don't go from like 4'8" to 4'9" and jump to 5 foot or jump to 5'2" or something. You grow continuously. The amount of gas you pump in your car is a continuous flow. Milk in a container is continuous. What is not continuous with something that's discrete would be how many students are in a classroom. You can't have 4.5 students in a classroom. It goes from 4 to 5. Or how many steps you take. You take 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't take half of a step. It's either a whole step or nothing at all. So when we're looking at these, if we're looking to graph these last two examples, we need to think about that. And I'm not going to graph these, again, for sake of time, but here's the example. Okay? The weight of cheese in ounces depends on the number of gallons of milk used. So we're using this function, W equals 16M. There's a little chart here. 0 gallons of milk, we get 0 ounces of cheese. 1 gallon of milk, 16 ounces of cheese. 2 gallons of milk, 32 ounces of cheese, and so forth. Now, can we make this cheese with, for instance, 1.2 gallons of milk? Yeah, we can measure out and throw 1.2 gallons in here. We can throw in 6.85 gallons. Therefore, this is a continuous graph. And if we go to graph this, it will be graphed with a line. Because all of those points can be connected. The second example is a discrete example. Here we're talking about the circles of cheese that you would see, or the wheels of cheese. And I like to explain, if you don't know what a wheel of cheese is, think back to watching Tom and Jerry. When Jerry's carrying that wheel of cheese around, okay, many restaurants, buy those wheels of cheese for their restaurants. You can't buy half a wheel of cheese. You either buy the whole thing or nothing at all. That is why this would be a discrete graph. And we would just represent it with various points. For instance, at 0, 0, and at 1, 9, and at 2, 18, and like 3, 25. We cannot represent and connect these points because we can't buy or sell 3.5 wheels of cheese. It's either 3 or 4. It kind of jumps that whole thing. So that's the difference between continuous and discrete. Hopefully this helps.